Hello, hello, and welcome to Vanessa Abraham's book launch party for her book, Speechless. Say hello, Vanessa.
Hi, everyone.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited. It's been a labor of love to get here. And Vanessa, I know that you've put just everything into this book and the story, and we are going to interview you today, and everyone's going to have an opportunity to ask you questions. But before I introduce you, I just want to make sure that everybody can say hello in the comments and make sure that people are able to hear and all is well. So let's just take a second. And good. So wave, Vanessa, we got 4 people on already. So
Hi,
say hello.
everyone.
Please say hello in the comments. And then something really important that needs to happen is we first need you to please, Savannah, who is assisting us today. Savannah is going to put a link giving Facebook permission to connect with StreamYard so we can see you. And more people are joining us right now. Welcome, welcome. And so we need you to click on that link so we can see your profile picture. And so Vanessa is going to be able to see who you are and able to greet you by name, which is going to be so nice. And that's how we're going to participate in the giveaway today. So Vanessa, okay, people are coming in now. Hello, and welcome. Vanessa, do you want to say hi? Are you able to see?
I don't see anybody yet coming up on my end.
Okay, so let's go on over, make sure all is well. Be sure and refresh your screen on Amazon on Amazon on the brain. On Facebook, if you're not seeing the live stream and just wanting to make sure that all is well. Dr. Rosen is here with us in the background. We're going to be introducing him in just a moment. And I think we should get started, but I want to make sure, let's just make sure that people can see us. Okay. And Vanessa, let's see. Okay. I think all is well. Say hello in the chat. I want to see hellos in the comments. Okay. All right, let's go. So let's see. It says we're live streaming, and we've got 17 people here right now, Vanessa. Yay! So please go ahead. I'm going to start, and first of all, type yes into the chat if indeed you have purchased Vanessa's book, Speechless, on Amazon. Type yes, yes, yes. And Vanessa, you may need to go over to the tab on Facebook and see in order to see the comments, because for some reason they're not coming through at this moment, but not to worry, we'll get that sorted. And people are definitely here.
I see Deanna. Hi, Lorraine, Tammy. Oh, my Aunt Katie. Oh my gosh, you guys. Dana, Savannah. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Kathy. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. You guys are going to make me cry. Melanie, thank you.
Oh my gosh, good. Okay, so it is working. People are here to support you today, Vanessa. And so I am going to dive in and actually take a moment and introduce you and your book and what this is all about. And I'm glad you have your tissue box with you, because I know this is a really big moment in your journey. And Vanessa, for those of you, I think most of you know who she is, but I know there are also a lot of people, friends and colleagues, who've invited friends and colleagues to support you today. And so I want to take a moment and talk about you and your background, and then a tiny bit about what the book is about, but then I'm going to really open it up to you so that people can hear from you. And then if you have questions for Vanessa, please do put it into the comments. And so we'll make sure to get to the questions at the end. Okay. So Vanessa is a certified speech pathologist with over 15 years of experience helping children who are struggling with speech to express their most basic needs. And she has used tools like augmentative communication devices such as NewFit. What she never imagined is that she would need these devices herself for her own medical journey. She is an established NewFit provider and has her own practice and is helping others who are recovering from medical trauma and also all the mental health issues that come from a traumatic experience like this. No longer silent. She is now writing and engaging in speaking events and really here to share her story, her vulnerability, about her experience, to really empower others now and their ability to heal even when they're in their own darkest moments. So with Speechless, how a speech therapist lost her ability to speak and her silent struggle to reclaim her voice in life. It's a memoir, really, of Vanessa, who suddenly was faced with a rare neurological disease and within 1 week went from a loving, fully engaged mother and full-time employee to unable to move, eat, speak, and relying on others entirely for her care. So, Vanessa, thank you so much for sharing this story with us today and being vulnerable. And I know that this is a very big moment for you to come out into the public, to really help others, to share your story and to help others. So can you talk about what inspired you to write Speechless?
I think the big one is to give people hope. Since my illness, I've never wanted anybody to feel hopeless, feeling alone. I don't want anybody having those feelings that I felt when I was in the ICU and recovering. So I want my book to just give other people hope. I wanted to also educate people, educate medical professionals, therapists, social workers, anybody that works with patients in the ICU on what it's really like on the other side.
Yeah, and yeah, you were seeing it on two sides of the coin. What an extraordinary experience. When you were in ICU, were you able to understand what was happening to you and understanding that you couldn't speak? And were you able to really know what kind of care you needed, but you weren't able to communicate?
Oh, I was fully aware of what was going on around me. And that was probably what caused so much of my anxiety. I knew what was going on. I knew as a speech pathologist that I am in really bad, very critical shape. And I couldn't communicate that with anybody. My guest will be on in a few minutes here to kind of talk about some of those things and the anxiety I had with communication and not being able to communicate and what that was like. That was absolutely terrifying as a speech pathologist.
Who can your book, Speechless, help?
Oh, anybody, ICU patients, family can read it too, and it can give them hope and give them resources and give them advice too on what they can do to help their loved one in the ICU. Medical professionals, OTs, PTs, speech therapists, social workers. There is a lot of different people that this can help.
I'm so glad. And today you have someone very special that we're going to bring on with us in just a moment. And I also know that you would like to read an excerpt from your book with Dr. Jared Rosen on screen with you. And so let me introduce your very special guest, Dr. Jared Rosen. There we go. And hello and welcome, Dr. Rosen.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh my gosh, so happy you're here. And just really quick, I just want to let everybody know who you are. And then Vanessa will talk about who you are in terms of your relationship with each other. Dr. Rosen completed his medical degree at UC San Diego. And by total chance, he met Vanessa while she was rotating through ICU, or he was rotating through the ICU. They came together.
We both were.
Yeah. And then he completed his residency in the internal medicine at UC San Diego. And really, in part, this time with Vanessa is what inspired him to further pursue training in pulmonary and critical care. Is that right, Dr. Rosen?
It's absolutely the case. We're in the last 6 months of that. There's a lot of symmetry being able to have the book coming out and meeting Vanessa sort of like very early in my journey and trying to figure out what I'm going to do in medicine. And now here we are, years later, and sort of kind of at the end of that training pathway, and to get to celebrate such an amazing story of recovery, and to celebrate the book coming out.
Oh, such a joy and pleasure for you to be here. I'm going to interview you in just a minute, but I'm going to take myself off screen because I'd like Vanessa to read you this excerpt and for you to have a chance to respond.
Okay. I warned you.
You went to Costco and got the Kleenex, I know.
Costco got the bulk pack of Kleenex. Everybody listening may want to. This is going to be very emotional for me. This was a really important part of the book, and I wanted you to be here while I read this. So, let me find this right page here. I think I'll start right here. I spent every spare moment between therapies doing my swallow exercises, but despite my efforts, my progress seemed stagnant. I tried to focus on the positive. My physical therapy sessions were showing real improvement, which gave me a semblance of hopes amidst the ongoing challenges of secretion buildup. As the day wore on, I kept the close eye on the clock, knowing Jared would be leaving around 5 or 6 p.m. In the afternoon, he came to my room and took a seat next to me. He shared that it was his last day, and even though I had been preparing for it, I couldn't hold back my tears. I poured out my gratitude, telling him how profoundly his care impacted me. Dale, usually stoic, became emotional too. One of the rare moments I saw him so openly vulnerable during this whole ordeal. They embraced and I cried, overwhelmed by everything I felt I had lost and the uncertainty of what laid ahead. I reminded myself that I had my medical advocate, Dale, at my side, but not having someone there now for Dale concerned me, as Jared had been his go-to person for clarification and support during the most challenging experience of our lives. I looked at him with tears in my eyes and said, one day I'll write a book about all this, and you'll be in it. I spoke with a hint of sarcasm, but also a hopeful plainness. And maybe you'll even write the forward, I added jokingly. He smiled and nodded his head, squeezing my hand warmly. I'd like that, he replied. He left on a positive note, but my heart ached with the weight of our parting and the uncertain journey still ahead. The next day was tough. I woke up knowing Jared wouldn't be there. He was moving on to bigger things, becoming a doctor, and I had to face the reality of my continued recovery without him. It was a difficult transition, but I knew I had to keep moving forward. His absence was a void, a reminder of the transient nature of support in the medical setting. Oh, I got through it. Do you remember that day?
I do. I will never forget that.
I won't either. And I held you to it. And everybody, he did write the forward as I asked him to 5.5 years ago. So when you buy the book, you will see that in there. But that was a very, very emotional moment for you. I had such anxiety leading up to it, knowing that you were leaving. You were such a big advocate supporting my husband and I. What you did to help him and support him through the journey, I will never forget. It was.
I mean, I think that goes both ways, right? This was in a lot of ways incredibly impactful and transformational for both of us crossing paths, and helped me to sort of, was a part of what helped me start forming my ideas about what I wanted to do professionally, and it changed the way that I think about interacting with my patients every single day since.
Not that I am thrilled about what happened to me, but knowing that I impacted you, you impacted me, it gives me goosebumps, makes me so happy but emotional. And the fact that you wrote a forward in my book, I'm just so deeply grateful.
I mean, it was such a deep pleasure, and just to feel like this was actually all coming together, and to see that like the fact that you were writing the book meant that you had come through such a tremendous recovery. I mean, in and of itself, right there, that this was such a journey, and to play even just a small role in that was incredibly special.
just so everybody listening can hear too, after I left ICU, I went to rehab, and after I got home about 2 months later, you were always on my mind in the care that you gave to us because it was so important to me. I hopped on the internet and I thought I'm gonna stalk him. I'm gonna find this guy. I just want to let him know how much I appreciate him. And I don't know if you remember that, but I think about 2 months later, I Googled you and it came up that you were still at UCSD. And I wrote, do you remember me? And I was so happy when you wrote back and said, of course I remember you. And I thought, oh, good. I said, I know that you've had so many patients sent to me, but I just wanted you to know how much I appreciated your kindness and, treating me like a human being and the mother that I was. And really looking at me for who I was and my husband too, what you did for him. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, it was tremendous. It really was tremendous, Vanessa.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again.
Well, I think you all did a beautiful job. So I'm just going to ask you just a couple of other questions, Dr. Rosen, before you go. And because that was just, I feel like you two really just touched on everything that was important. Maybe it would be interesting also to know like how this influenced you, Dr. Rosen, in terms of how you work with patients now today.
It's interesting. I think Vanessa and you and I talked a couple of months ago about this, or a few months ago when I was putting together the foreword, and sort of like, particularly in patients I've had since who maybe not had the exact same condition, but have had similar neurologic conditions where they're not able to communicate and they're scared and they're frightened, and we're trying to figure out, how do I communicate them and how would I go forward? And just telling yourself, like the ICU is a very fast-paced place. It's very easy to get caught up in a lot of the chaos and emergencies, but carving out that time to just sit down with the person, get that communication board, spend that extra time, recognize that they may be awake and they just cannot communicate. And it always is in the back of my mind. It's like, we're going to take a few extra minutes just to do what we can to like improve the communication with that person, because they're there. They are a whole person and they're there. And it's very easy for me to walk in and, just try to I can do my thing. I can walk in, walk out. They're stuck there. They can't communicate. So doing what you can to take that extra few minutes, I think it makes a huge difference for patients.
That's amazing. And what do you remember the most specifically about working with and helping Vanessa?
The butt pain.
What?
I knew you were going to bring that up. I just knew it. And this is what's funny about it is that I don't remember that. He tells me every time we talk, Vanessa, you had such incredible butt pain. It's all you were talking about. And I'm thinking, as a speech pathologist, wasn't I angry that I couldn't talk? But I don't remember.
No, she was far less irritated by that and far more irritated. I mean, she was like Princess of the Pea sitting up there on like 15 pillows, right? And then the other thing is that Dale and I struggled so mightily because Vanessa, being a speech therapist, was far more proficient at a communication board than we ever were. So she's like lightning fast pointing all over the place, and we're like trying to figure out what she's trying to spell out. And it was just an absolute nightmare. We're staring at each other like, what the hell did she just spell out? So it's finally great when she figured out she could just put things down in the notes app on her phone. And then we're like, oh, okay, so thank God we have something we can actually follow and read. This is like, it's so frustrating for everybody. And she was irritated. They're like, why aren't you better at this? This isn't your job.
Yeah, I would type too fast and they would look at me, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? And I just, but that was a speech pathologist in me that I'm like, I need to talk, you guys. I need a means of communication.
Oh, God. And you had a lot to say.
I had a lot of questions. What is going on with me? And, these poor guys, they were trying their best. They meant well. But we were all very frustrated.
But what's extraordinary just about hearing the two of you talk is the connection that you made. And then also, Dr. Rosen, your recognition for other patients going forward, that taking those extra couple of minutes, recognizing that person is stuck inside, can understand,
right,
most likely, and cannot get the words out. And you just happen to have Vanessa, who was skilled at communicating.
Right. And then that was the irony in all this is I learned from the speech pathologist how to communicate with patients. Right. It was
Yeah.
a formative moment in my career. Just like, oh yeah, like this is something I need to pay attention to. And like, oh, I'm like learning techniques from my patient and how she wants to communicate with me.
That's a big deal. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, it's interesting. There are so many sort of these light bulb moments that I remember, 5, 6 years later about some of those like very specific events. Of course, the butt pain is one of them that she doesn't remember, but if you ask Dale, he'll be like, "Oh, geez, that was definitely a big thing." And there are some really scary moments when they tried taking the breathing tube out the first time and she failed and she wasn't able to breathe on her own. And I physically had to like carry Dale with the social worker. We like physically picked him up and moved him out of the room during that, or just other these flashbulb moments that will, sort of are seared into, I think, both of our memories.
Wow. Amazing.
It's
But-
amazing when he's seen as many patients as he has and still remembers these little, as patients, we remember these things all the time. But when I hear him speak and he remembers these details of, wow, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Dr. Rosen, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before you go?
I would just say that, there's so many demands on us in the healthcare field, and it's very easy to get sort of sucked into the vortex of just focus in on what do you need to do? What is your job? But it is so important, and it is sometimes very hard to it's to pump the brakes. It's take that second, remember that this is a person in front of you. This is not a problem. This is not just a person who has atypical Guillain-Barré and she's that lady in room 7, right? Now this is Vanessa. And just taking that moment, it can be really hard at times. We're pushed to the limits a lot, but remembering that's a person. And, when you look at Vanessa was that person with cervical brachial GBS in bed 7, and now here seeing her on the live stream promoting her book, right? It's like it is a tremendous reminder that I think we should all carry with us, that these are all people under here, and that we're all just humans together.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Vanessa, I'm so excited now that the book is coming out and that you've hit such an incredible milestone in your journey.
Well, I promised you 5.5 years ago we would be doing this. So.
And here we are.
Here we are. It took me a while, but thank you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Wow, that was beautiful. And so interesting to hear it from his perspective and yours.
Mm-hmm.
So hearing him say all of this, what did it bring up for you?
So much gratitude. His kindness. It got me through some really, really dark moments in the ICU. And it wasn't just him. He was phenomenal. Not saying that he wasn't, but the whole team. They were spectacular, making me feel safe. And when I couldn't communicate, they understood that, wow, we have a speech pathologist here in the ICU that can't talk. What is going on in her mind? What can we do to relieve her anxiety? They knew that we got a speech pathologist, a young mom here. This is serious. So, just reliving it and just the immense gratitude I have for all of them and their kindness.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And I love the whole idea of him seeing, recognizing that we're all in this together and we're all human, and not just the person in bed 7.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's amazing. And I think really helpful for all healthcare professionals to remember that. So let's dive in now and talk more about your story, if you will. And tell us, what you think the most common obstacles are for people when they're in the ICU and how your book can help.
I think a lot of it comes down to 2 different areas: is anxiety, depression. Anxiety, the fear of what's to come. For me, it was, what's my prognosis? Am I ever going to recover from this? Am I ever going to hold my baby? Am I ever going to walk again? Am I ever going to eat orally again? Am I going to sit around the table and have a tube feed for the rest of my life? That anxiety of, the unknown is unbelievable, surreal, which leads to this thing called PICS, post-intensive care syndrome. The depression is unreal as well. Most of us wake up one day and we're fine, and the next minute we're in ICU and our lives are spiraling out of control and we don't have answers. We don't know why we are going down the route we are. And you're grieving the loss of your previous self. And that's difficult to manage. So my book can give those people hope that are dealing with anxiety and depression. It can give them resources and help them navigate that, what I mentioned before, is that PICS, the post-intensive care syndrome, some of those brain fog, depression, anxiety that come with an ICU stay. So my book can help with all of that. Just giving people hope that they're not alone. There are things out there for them. There are support groups.
That's a powerful resource, because I imagine that on both sides, healthcare professionals not knowing all the time how to deal, not understanding like what you're going through from the inside, and then you also sharing this story for family members. In fact, it made me wonder, are there things that family members can say or do that's helpful, and maybe some things that may not be as helpful, which I think would be important to hear as well?
I think something that's helpful is just acknowledging the person, talking to them, helping them not feel alone. The social isolation that comes with a critical illness is real. A lot of us lose friends. People don't know how to talk to us. They don't know what to say, so they just step away. So helping that person that's recovering or in the ICU, helping them feel not so alone, that they have support, they have friends, they have a team behind them, a community. That's where, for me, the support groups came in really big for me. Just so I knew that I have a group of people around me that understand me. So I think that's really, really big. The just community.
And also, you had to, as an independent person, suddenly accept help from family and friends in ways that you never imagined, and talk about like what that was like for you to have, people were helping you with your child, they were helping you with your self-care, your care, and so talk about what that is like to embrace that as an independent person.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I've always been an independent person. I've never been one to say, hey, I need help with this. Can you do my laundry? Can you clean my house? Much less, can you help me bathe? Can you come help me wash my hair? I'm not one to call up girlfriends and say, can you help me get out of the shower? That's humbling. It's embarrassing. You don't want your close friends or family and you don't want to inconvenience them, but you don't want them to see you like this. A week ago I was fine and showering myself, and now all of a sudden I can't drive myself and I can't even care for my own child. That was horrible for me. I'm a mom. I should be able to care for my own child. I shouldn't have to be calling on other people to pick her up or bathe her, or that's my job as a mom. I lost my identity as a mother, as a speech pathologist. It just went out the door because I couldn't work, couldn't care for my child, couldn't care for myself. I could barely just get myself out of bed and into the bathroom. So having to ask for help, and it was awful. There's no positive way to even say it.
Mm-hmm. And you're, I know, telling the story, you were very private about this when it happened. What really became that decision in your mind in terms of wanting to share this? Because I know that it's vulnerable. You're really getting into the nitty gritty in the book. And so in terms of also depression and all those things that come even as part of that recovery. So how did you see, what are the things that you did to see that prick of light in that darkness?
I think it was a part of just acceptance. So accepting where I am now and what can I do with what happened to me. I have a lot of knowledge now. I have a lot of knowledge that I didn't learn in grad school. Let me tell you that. Grad school does not prepare you for no. What I have lived has taught me so much, and now I need to use what I have lived to educate people. I mentioned before PICS, post-intensive care syndrome. There are many professionals. Dr. Rosen understands it very well, but that don't understand it, that don't even know about it. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm on a mission to educate, talk to people about this, educate speech pathologists, OT, PT, speech, social workers, you name it. I've met with therapists myself, and I say, do you know what PICS is? I suffer from this thing called PICS. And they said, what? What's that? And I think, well, how are you going to help me if you don't even know what this is? So there's more people out there that just don't even understand it. So that's kind of what I want to do now.
So your mission is to share your story and then also help other people who are going through it, and then also professionals really understand what it's like. Now you can, from personal experience, really give that kind of concrete information, I think, which is going to be so incredibly valuable for people. So Vanessa, I want to go over, please ask Vanessa questions in the comments. And Vanessa, we're not able to do the giveaway tool or the comments right now today here. So what we're going to be able to do, I'm going to show people the screen though of the giveaway that we're going to do. And then we see everybody's name showing up underneath. And so we'll do the drawing, a random selection. And because I do have a tool to do it, and a random selection. And then we'll be able to let people, we'll notify the winners in your Facebook group underneath here. Okay. Directly following this. But I just wanted to speak to everyone right now. I hope that you are as touched and inspired as I am with Vanessa's story and also her conversation with Dr. Rosen. And also, we're here for you to ask her questions. And we have Vanessa here willing to answer any question that you have to ask. So please put it in the comments so that we can go through and ask those questions. And then also, please go, if you haven't already, please go buy a copy of Vanessa's book. I got my copy this morning and so excited about this, bringing this book out into the world. And so proud of you, Vanessa, for this tremendous effort that you have done to get it out there. And so I'm going to take a moment and look at the questions and see, and you can look as well if you want to. There, Martha or Maddie, I'm so glad you're here. There's such a need for effective nonverbal communication systems in medical systems. Do you want to speak to that? Do you feel like there's a gap, that there's something missing?
Oh, 100%. In my experience too, I was a speech pathologist, so I knew what I needed, but most patients don't. Not all patients that come through the ICU are speech pathologists and know about things such as text to speech or, voice output devices or low tech, high tech. But there's a huge disconnect. It's really, really sad. And I think not being able to communicate for me and ask these questions of like, what's wrong with me? What's going to happen? What is this next procedure like? When's speech coming? I had like Dr. Rosen said, I had a lot of questions. And to me, to not just be able to fire those off and then instead point to letter after letter after letter when, hey, I need, some voice output device, something. But yeah, big disconnect.
Yeah. And also in terms of, you're getting so many beautiful messages. Melody says you're speechless as a rock. You're a rock. And Kathy Butzloff says you're a warrior. Jennifer Friedman Chap says you're so amazing. it's so, and Jennifer Friedman Chap was saying the connection with your care team is so important. And what do you say with families that come in? Like, what's the best way for them to work with a care professional? Like, imagine a family member like you were suddenly there. You had Dale coming in. Like, what do you recommend that they do? Are there questions that they should be asking?
Oh, my UCSD team was so perfect at this role. You know, they listened to him. They truly, like, if he would say Vanessa needs this, they listened to him and believed him. There's so many other medical settings, and I kind of get into this a little bit in my book, where the family is kind of, they're not wanted in the room. They're not embraced. My medical team at UCSD just loved him. And it's back to that gratitude component of, they listened to him. They wanted him there. They included him in the therapy session. So he knew how to feed me. He knew how to, I wouldn't say knew so much how to like suction the trach and all that stuff, but he was very involved. And I think that having the family involved too, it's better for the patient too, because then they have less anxiety knowing, okay, my husband, my wife knows how to do these things. So when they go home, there's a little less anxiety.
When we do have another question, and I think that's really interesting that UCSD allowed and embraced your family, Dale, to be there and saw that as part of the recovery process, which is so important, right? That your family members, because I know I have been in ICU with family, and everyone's so busy rushing in to do the care that family is often pushed aside. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, just because I think for healthcare professionals, that's really important to recognize that the family is part of that recovery process.
Yeah. Dr. Rosen even called my parents one day. I'll never forget it. I elaborated on the book, in the book. But yeah, it's the fact that he knew that, okay, Vanessa's anxious. She needs her family to know what's going on. He spent an hour on the phone with my parents. Like, who does that? It's remarkable.
Wow. That's amazing. So let me see. There's one more. I have another question for you. Oh yeah. Maddie asked a question. When you weren't able to eat or drink anything by mouth, what did you miss the most?
I felt like a social outcast. Great question though, Maddie. I appreciate this question because it's such a good question. You feel alone, you feel isolated, not being able to sit around the dinner table with your family, and you have to wait until somebody comes over and tube feeds you. It's the worst feeling ever.
My gosh, it's like hard to even imagine what you went through with that. And at what point did your speech start to come back?
So when the trach was removed, I could talk, but just it wasn't the same. My vocal quality had changed. So a lot of voice therapy. But yeah, I was using AAC probably, which is augmentative communication, the letter board that Dr. Rosen was talking about, or I was using my phone to do text to speech. I was doing that probably for a good month-ish, 3 to 4 weeks.
And how did you also, in terms of, I imagine you use that to communicate with your daughter. How was that for you in terms?
Great question. So I did not see her when I was in that state. I did not want her to see me using that kind of communication. When she did, the first time I did see her, I was using this thing called a Passy-Muir valve, which is a valve that you put on your tracheostomy and then allows you to communicate that way. But it was very fatiguing, very exhausting to communicate with that on. So I think the first time I talked to her in person, it was just a brief visit because it was physically exhausting to talk. And again, one of those things that you don't learn in grad school, that talking with a PMV is exhausting. Suctioning.
That is really amazing, right? Because I'm sure you learned about it in textbooks, and they just say that this is a solution to help you talk, but not understanding from the patient's perspective how exhausting it is. Is it exhausting just because of the sheer amount of energy that is needed to?
Yeah. At least for me, I can't talk for every patient, but for me, the first time I did it, it was a minute, maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds. My speech pathologist would know better than I did, or I would. But it was just physically exhausting trying to get air and
Wow.
just go, for the first time.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, and Deanna brings up, oh, you're getting tons of love. Deanna Martin says, Vanessa is a major inspiration to all who know her. You're just getting so much love today from everyone that's here. And Constance Bouvier says, there are patients that are even too weak to text or type. In those cases, what do you recommend?
And yeah, Connie, that was me. You use eye gaze. You're so either paralyzed or because that's where I was at the very beginning. I couldn't move anything. I was so sedated, and you're just using eye gaze to look at a word, yes, no. And they track your eye movement to a letter board. Are you tracking your eye movement? I'm moving my eyes right now, but you would track the patient's eyes to a letter. So that's kind of where I was at the very initial stages of communication. So I've used every form of communication out there. I've used low tech, eye gaze, text to speech, and now voice.
It's amazing just the journey that you've gone through, Vanessa. I mean, we have so much to learn from you, and what a gift you are, your book, because this book is potentially going to help. It's like a ripple effect. I think it's going to help so many people that you probably can't even imagine. Just even what you said about how hard and exhausting it was to use that speaking tool, and all the things that you know now from the inside out is going to potentially, like Dr. Rosen, I mean, that transformed his way of doing medicine today. Yeah. I mean, that is a huge deal, that he now takes a few minutes with each patient that he normally would not have done in that busy, frenetic setting, to just know that they're human, that they're trying to communicate and trying to figure out how to help. So you did that. Mm-hmm. And this book is also doing that by sharing your story in such a open and vulnerable way. And I think the impact is going to be phenomenal for anyone who reads your book, but also all the healthcare professionals who now may see things from an entirely different point of view. Yeah.
That is my goal.
Okay, so Leanne Osborne says, so happy you're doing better and so proud of you. Linda Noble Brady, Vanessa, thanks for being an inspiration and help to me. And Kristen Harrell says, I wish they would have known about the eye gaze. I couldn't communicate at all at certain points. My gosh, it gives me chills. And Jennifer Friedman Chap says, your book will help my Rick. And Kristen Harrell says, you're so brave to share this and will change so many lives. Way to go. And Maddie says, this is just the beginning for you, Vanessa. You have so many more conversations in front of you, and you will make such a difference in the lives of those who listen and learn. And Constance is asking you to speak to Constance Bouvier. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. Is to ask you to tell how many millions will go through the ICU. Do you know those numbers about how many people go through the ICU?
No, that would have been a good question for Dr. Rosen. I don't even know. I guess it probably depends on, the size of the ICU. And, some patients are in the ICU 2-3 days. I was in there a solid month or about.
Wow. That's a long time for ICU.
Yeah, I remember when I was in there too, they said, a long-term stay is like 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, okay, that is a reality check that this is bad.
Yeah.
This
Now,
is bad.
were you cognitively understanding everything they were saying to you?
The first week, no, because I was very, 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 very sedated, and unconscious, basically, hallucinating. But after that, yes, very aware. And again, that awareness made me very anxious. So they were constantly having to give me anxiety medication. But then there came a point in time too that they thought, okay, we need to wean you off this. You should not be on all this medication. We need to start, they didn't want me to become addicted, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, I was very aware. I knew what was going on. And that's why I had all the questions Dr. Rosen was saying. He's like, she was firing off question after question, typing. And yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, but what a gift to him, honestly, and to everyone that is now going to have your book. Jess Marie says, you've always shown so much gratitude to those who helped you on your journey. I want you to know that I'm thankful for you and all you've taught me.
Well, I just have to say, Jess, thank you. Jess got me walking again.
Oh. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
She's remarkable. She's up there with Dr. Rosen. She was there. She knows my story as much as anybody. She held my hand and got me out of bed. I held all those tubes as I was walking down the hallway and was so supportive and so kind. And she was my sunshine. And she was another one of those that when she walked in the room, it gave me such relief because I knew my husband had support. I knew there was somebody else there that he could lean on, that he could trust, and that she not only was there for me, but she was there for him.
Oh, wow.
And that's huge because I had anxiety not worrying about him and me.
Yeah. And so that's actually a really important point as well. Just surrounding yourself by your team who really are there, not just for you, but your family. Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. Okay. People are talking about, I love all the researchers in your group. Everyone's coming up with all the numbers for the ICU professionals. 4.2 million Americans, says Ann Lewis, go through ICU in a year. What? That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Ann would know that answer.
Yeah. Also, Maddie research shows that there are more than 5 million patients admitted annually into ICUs across the U.S. So a similar number. Wow, that is just incredible. So even just thinking about your book and what kind of impact that could have for understanding on both sides of the table, right? In terms of your story, and then of course everything that that medical care professionals can learn from you. That goes beyond the textbooks, which is what you're talking about here. So please ask any further questions. We're going to be wrapping this up soon. But I want to make sure if you type yes into the chat, if you have already gotten a copy of Vanessa's amazing book, Speechless. And also if you could please, share this with your friends and family who potentially couldn't be here. I know there are going to be people here watching the replay as well. Share so we can support Vanessa's book launch today. In fact, Vanessa, let me put that book back onto the screen. I moved it because it was covering Dr. Rosen's head. So there it is, Speechless. And I also know that let's just see if there's any last minute questions. And so many yeses are coming up. Maddie said yes. Lee Power said yes. Melody Vachol said yes. Deanna Martin said yes. And Lewis, yes. Jesse, yes. And Lorraine, yes. So fantastic. Savannah is putting the link in there right now for Amazon, and feeling so much gratitude to you all for being here. And Vanessa, I know that there are other people that you want to thank. So do you want to take a few minutes And
Oh.
before you do, but before you start thanking everyone, because I know we've talked about how many people have helped you along this journey, but I just want to say, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your story, your book, or anything that you'd like people to know?
Gosh. Yeah, and it's hard to sum it up. I'm just so grateful. I'm truly for everybody showing up today. Everybody that's showing up today on this feed um, has played such a huge role in my journey. Whether you came to my house and helped me shower, or you just sent me text messages to encourage me, or if you were one of my therapists helping me walk or talk or swallow food again. My parents are here, my husband, everybody, just the outpouring of support and you guys all showing up today means so much. All my PIC supporters, there's a lot of you guys here. I see you. And I'm so grateful for you guys because you guys pulled me through some really dark days with all your text messages and Zoom calls. And so I just have so much appreciation. I just hope my book, I hope when you guys read it, you think about people that might benefit from it as well. And you spread the word and tell other people to buy it. That would mean a lot to me. But I do want to have so many people to thank. You, Tamara, you got me here. You got me to this point where I'm at right now with this book and launching this book. You're so organized, and there were so many times between you and Maddie, my lovely, wonderful editor, that I just wanted to say, stop. I can't be vulnerable. I can't go public with this. I can't, I don't have it in me anymore. Stop. And you guys would just kindly sweep me off the floor and reassure me that you've got a good story and this needs to get out there and you can do this. You can do hard things. So much gratitude to you. Savannah, you're here. Thank you. Thank you for my first social media post. I look at her and I said, she does my social media. I said, I can't do this. I don't want my face out there. And she goes, you can do this. You know, just the reassurance from everybody. The reassurance from everybody on this call today that I could go on and on. My parents, they've been helping me with my child and what they've done for me and the values that they instilled in me to get me through an ICU stay and not wanting it in my life. It's amazing. My husband for supporting me through all of this and encouraging me with the book. And just being there in the ICU and taking notes with Dr. Rosen. I have such vivid memories of him going to doctor rounds and him and Rosen standing just like this and taking notes. I'm just so appreciative. So appreciative of everybody. All my I think I mentioned my PIC support group. You guys are awesome. So thank you.
Vanessa, thank you so much for having the courage to bring your book out into the world and to share your story really with the mind and intention of helping others. And you're so generous and brave that you inspire all of us. And so I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you and Maddie, your editor, and Savannah, your whole team, like we've been right there. And then all these remarkable people that have shown up in your life that you have mentioned are all here for you. And you've received so much love you'll go back and look at the comments after this, because just so much love has come through to you today and will continue to. So I just give you so much appreciation too and love. And thank you all for showing up today for Vanessa. I mean, it's just been awesome just to see all of your love. I see all the heart emojis flying up and all your comments and support. And so let's continue to support Vanessa all day. Let's get those posts out, let everybody know about this book so we can get it visible and in the hands of people who need it the most. So Vanessa, is there anything else you want to say?
No, nope. Just thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, everyone. Really.
Mwah. Go on, please go on.
And just everybody.
Yeah.
My team, my speech pathologist, my medical speech pathologist, everybody. It's I could not have gotten where I am without every one of you,
Oh,
because the imposter syndrome is real. The fear, the vulnerability of going public and speaking this story right now is very scary. But if I can impact lives and I can give people hope and give them hope to continue to fight and to continue to live and know that there's a better tomorrow, then this has been all worth it.
you just said that so beautifully. And with that, my friends, we're going to end the party, but let's keep celebrating and supporting Vanessa going forward. Thank you so much for being here. Take good care. Bye.
Bye.